Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Valla Girivardhari Yashodananda Rajajanna Ranjana Yamratira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. If you wish, we can recite together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet shunvatam svakata krishna punya shravana kirtana hirdantasta hyabadrani vidunoti suhritsatam nashta prayeshva padreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaura Premanande. For the record, Canto 1, Chapter 14, Text 30 and 31, recite both of them, and translation purport. Pradyumnya Sarva Vrishinam Sukamaste Maharata Gambira Rayo Nirudo Vardate Bhagavanuta Pradyumna Sarva Vrishinam Sukamaste Maharata Gambira Rayo Nirudo Vardate Bhagavan Uta Pradyumna Sarva Vrishinam Sukamaste Maharata Gambira Rayo Nirudo Vardate Bhagavan Uta. If anyone wants to practice, feel free. Pradyumna Sarva Vrishrinam Sukamaste Maharata Gambira Raya Niruddho Vardhate Bhagavan Uta. Pradyumna, a son of Lord Krishna. Sarva, all. Vrishinam, of the members of the Vrishni family. Sukham, happiness. Aste, are in. Maharata, the great general. Gambira, deeply. Rayaha, dexterity. Aniruddha, Aniruddha, a grandson of Lord Krishna. Vardhate, flourishing. Bhagavan, personality of Godhead. Uta, must. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. How is Pradyumna, the great general of the Vrishni family? Is he happy? And is Aniruddha, the plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead, faring well? Purport: Pradyumna and Aniruddha are also expansions of the personality of Godhead, and thus they are also Vishnu Tattva. At Dwaraka, Lord Vasudeva is engaged in his transcendental pastimes along with his plenary expansions, namely Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, and therefore each and every one of them can be addressed as the personality of Godhead, as it is mentioned in connection with the name Aniruddha. Umaganitimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Nilitam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. My obeisances unto all of you. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for joining. Seeking your prayer for the service. We'll briefly go over 4 topics, but we'll concentrate on 3 of them mainly. The tattvas, just a general classification, and then that which we'll focus on will be dependence, comparison, and qualification. Dependence, comparison, and qualification. In regards to this first text that we read, again, Yudhishthira Maharaj is in anxiety, so to say, about Krishna, as Arjuna is taking a lengthy time to return from Dwarka. Therefore, while in the midst of that, to get some context, he's noticing omens, bad omens, right? Shaking on the left side of body and so forth. Cows not giving milk, etc. That's the context. And then real briefly, in regards to the tattvas, in the 4th canto, this is covered, text 15 through 32, and within those. And this is the first chapter. That in terms of Krishna's, Lord Krishna and Vishnu Tattva, he has the Svamsha, that's the Vishnu category, and then he has a Vibhinamsha, that's the Jiva category, which we are part of. Krishna is the 100% and everything else is subordinate. We have Vishnu Tattva, Shiva Tattva, and then the Jiva Tattva, which includes Lord Brahma. The Vishnu Tattva is said to have 94% of the capacity of Krishna. Vishnu Tattva. Shiva Tattva has 84%. And as Jivas, we can attain up to 78% of our original potency in comparison to Krishna. It says that we're Brahma Tattva also, the Jivas. However, we have the tendency to fall down. Brahma also, but less. He said that he's lusty. It said that he gets puffed up from time to time, which we'll cover later in one of his Grace Vijay Prabhu's favorite verses, the 10th canto. The idea is that anyone but the Supreme Lord is fallible. That's the simple fact. He's infallible, Achyuta, and we are Achyuta, fallible. Antaranga Shakti means the external energy. Bahiranga Shakti, internal energy, and Tatashta Shakti, marginal energy or potency. In the way His Grace Vaisheshika Maharaj said, it's like walking on the fence. We can, on one side is material enjoyment, the other side is spiritual enjoyment. And we're always in this mood of open to suggestion. And that's what makes the difference between us and Krishna. He's constantly on the transcendental platform. It's also mentioned in the first canto, second chapter. That although he enters into everything and it seems as if he's part of the material energy, he's never part of the material energy. He's untouched, always. So that's the difference. So Krishna is 100%, and that's also mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, as there's one candle with this lighting power, and it relates that flame to others. Still, it must be considered that that one at the beginning is the original candle. And we are the balance of that light and heat getting communicated through fire. Krishna 100%, Vishnu Tattva 94%, Shiva 84%, and Jiva Tattva, which includes Brahma, is 78%. Now, let's touch a little bit more now on this 31st verse, specifically the purport. I'll read translation and purport. Are all the chieftain sons of Lord Krishna, such as Sushena, Charudeshna, Samba, the son of Jambavati, and Rishabha, along with their sons, all doing well? Purport. As already mentioned, Lord Krishna married 16,108 wives, and each of them had 10 sons. Therefore, 16,108 times 10 equals 161,080 sons. They all grew up, and each of them had as many sons as their father. Multiply by 10 again. And the whole aggregate was something near 1,610,800 family members of the Lord. The Lord is the Father of all living beings, who are countless in number. Therefore, only a few of them are called to associate with the Lord in his transcendental pastimes, as the Lord of Dwarka on this earth. It is not astonishing that the Lord maintained a visible family consisting of so many members. It is better to refrain from comparing the Lord's position to ours, and it becomes a simple truth as soon as we understand at least a partial calculation of the Lord's transcendental position. King Yudhishthira, while inquiring about the Lord's sons and grandsons at Dwarka, mentioned only the chieftains amongst them, for it was impossible for him to remember all the names of the Lord's family members. This dependence and faith will be a subcategory of this dependence. To highlight here, text 22 of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, 9.22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana parjupasate tesham nitya bhuttanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Krishna states here, But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. You're related to modern family. I have, including myself, the 8 siblings, 10 with the 2 parents, and their family they had in the teens, 14, 11, something like that on my maternal and paternal side. Naturally, it'll rise in one's mind, how am I going to maintain all these little human beings? To take them around, do so many, feed them, change them, make sure they're in school, make sure they're staying out of trouble, so many things to maintain the family. The idea is that Krishna says here that be devoted, be devoted. And here it says, paryupasate, by properly worshiping, ananya, and having no other object. So one must be devoted and concentrate, chintayantaha. There's one pastime with His Grace Shyamasundara Prabhu when he was starting up different centers, that they had acquired one small apartment for the center, and that they were 2 months delayed on the rent for that. And he was thinking, what am I supposed to do here? Got 2 months of rent and back pay. Still the preaching work should go on, all these things. And when one morning he was walking to Mangalarati to the center, and no one else around, but $100 notes started flying towards him. His wife Malati, that time, they were just collecting all the 100 bills, and just enough to cover the rent. In this way, where else would that come? Krishna can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, if he so desires. The idea is that no matter what, just depend on the Lord, because 1, it's natural. 2, we have to. We think, in general, some scientists or people might think that we're getting light and we're getting heat and we're getting water and we're getting food stuff by material nature alone, but that never happens, right? Just analyze the body of someone living and someone dead. That material body will no longer produce movement. There's no kinetic movement there. There's nothing to, why did people don't keep the dead, normal people don't keep the dead body if there's some romantic relationship with it or just some sort of intimate, they don't keep it around. Immediately it's refuse. It is because only spirit is animating material nature does it produce. And Krishna also states that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The idea here is that we're always dependent. And the moment one realizes that, then Srila Prabhupada writes here, they become simple truths. Things that are seemingly inconceivable to us, they become simple truth. Oh yeah, the light's coming from Suryadev, and Suryadev's only coming from Krishna, etc. Things like that. Sometimes scientists will go into depth about these subject matters. The idea is there's no need to question so deeply about it, actually. Just accept that there's a superior power. It's inconceivable to oneself, beyond the material perceptions that one has, instruments. And Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj, he also mentioned this, which I'll highlight in regards to faith. Things that faith to solidify our dependence. He has stated that faith does a number of things. Maharaj, faith is one essential. Even during the COVID time, they had this essential workers out, right? Only things that people, whoever decided that it was actually a requirement to maintain human life, etc. In the same way, faith is an essential. Everyone's operating on faith. It's simply a matter of where one places it. Faith is essential. Adau Shraddha. 2, faith is also rational. This is also mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If one wants to use the word logic, though, if one wants to use one's logic in examining Lord Chaitanya and his mercy, you'll come to find out it's perfectly logical. So just examine it. 2, faith is irrational. 3, faith is also beautiful. If you notice, especially, and we'll just say the acharyas and the maharajas, they're so beautiful in their way. They, not as a male attraction, simply on the spiritual platform, they shine their effulgence like anything. They have such a gentle smile, and they're so approachable. They become everyone's true friend. And Suridam Sarvabhutanam, because this is a characteristic of Krishna. Because Krishna is actually everyone's friend, eternal friend. And they become beautiful, those that are actually dedicating their lives to Krishna. And they'll also get propositions by others, because it melts their heart. They just want to be with that person. The idea is that faith is a beautiful thing, not only in terms of physical, like their effulgence, but their ability. When someone is faithful, they're so determined. They have so much confidence, and this is also an attractive feature. And what Maharaj also stated is faith opens up ourselves to something else outside of our current conception. And therefore, it allows faith does allow our heart to be given to something or someone. And just a few more words on this faith to deepen our dependence, the fact of dependence on the Lord, is to increase faith, one must have a regularly philosophical debates. And one quick story in regards to this, just yesterday, 2 different individuals, we were in Vaishnav Doshani, Sujit Prabhu and myself were in downtown Berkeley. We were going store to store before that. I think they got tired of moving so much. So let's just set up downtown Berkeley and stay for a little while. As we were approaching, there was one African-American bodied gentleman, and he started talking. We did our usual line of, you look very peaceful and happy and so forth. And he responded very aggressively. Yeah, it's because I have the Lord Christ and blah, blah, blah. He started going off a little bit. It's like wondering, okay, where's this coming from? And he started going on to say something about the Bible, that only African Americans, Hispanics, and children will be saved by the Lord. Everyone else will be divided. I'm not sure how he came to that conclusion. I started asking him some questions because he wanted to speak a little bit. And he said, yeah, Lord Christ said that himself, I came to divide. And then I responded by saying, well, the fact that you're talking about ethnicities, race, and so forth, that proves that you're on the material platform, actually, sir. What that means is you're not seeing on the level of spirit. And he said, yeah, I'm seeing like that because God said like that. But I'm not sure how he's coming to these conclusions again, but he said, yeah. And Lord Christ said, I came to divide. I said, okay. And then I said, well, these are books on yoga, sir. Do you want to take some? He goes, now, in our faith, we don't do that yoga. And he used the curse word BS, the STEM acronym. I asked him, do you know what the word yoga means, sir? He says, no. I said, okay. It simply means to connect. It has nothing to do with sectarian religion or anything like that. And the Bible and the Lord Christ's path is actually yoga in the strict sense of the term. Huge means to bring 2 things together, to yoke them, actually. And he said, no, it's all BS. He said, you believe in Lord Christ? I said, yeah, he's one of our teachers. He said, well, then you want to be passing out those books. I said, oh, okay. That's your opinion. He said, there's a lot of things you don't know about God, but it's okay. Maybe Vijay's advice on that. But he wasn't hearing it actually. He was real set. So he has a particular faith too. But the dangerous type of faith. It's not based on debate, going deep into philosophy with serious, very serious, which Srila Prabhupada said that's so hard, but also an open mind must be there. Then we can have a proper perspective. Otherwise, it leads one to ignorance, actually. It's a reflection of their poor fund of knowledge, as Srila Prabhupada states. And it ended like this. He said, if I said this is BS, why are you still here talking? I said, I can end at any moment. I said, have a nice day, sir. Thank you. He said, okay, I'm going to go take care of my woman and my kids. And I said, what does that have to do with this topic, sir? And he said, because I know you have a preconceived notion about Black people not taking care of their wives and children. I said, oh my gosh, I don't even know how this came up. So I just said, Hare Krishna, went the other way. But this is actually a reflection of one's uncontrolled mind, not having proper philosophical debates with a good attitude, with an open mind. It will not increase proper faith. And this is, in turn, the second thing that Maharaj said, it's a lack of association with elevated devotees. In general, if we examine any biblical faith, they're not having this Guru Parampara. They have baptism and so forth. It's not a bona fide thing, though, if you just examine it real close. What it means is that coming down from Lord Christ directly in line, it's simply not there. There's and what to speak of the politics that got involved with all these faiths. And then 3, as Maharaj said, to increase faith and our dependence is to practice. Now, what kind of practice is the next question? Proper practice based on the essence of what our scripture says. And what's required there is a proper guide. His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu says, not bookish knowledge, but digested knowledge. What does that mean? Covered this a while ago. 3, the way faith arises in someone's practice is through culture, through association, and through experience. And the third one gives rise to the strongest faith that one can have. So Maharaj said, first, philosophically debate, associate with elevated souls on a regular basis, and then practice properly. So a few things to end on this dependence topic, that Maharaj says that doubts arise, when they arise, that we should discuss them openly. And as a result, the mind becomes stronger. The faith becomes stronger. So discuss these things, which the gentleman didn't. And there's another one to segue into it and close on this topic of dependence. Another gentleman came up. He was having another faith. I think it seemed like he was describing Islam. And he said, we also have this, actually, the teacher-student relationship. And I spoke to him a little bit. He brought up the topic of deities and so forth. And I said, well, in our scripture, it states that they're authorized forms of the Lord that he has taken in the past, and we can recreate them out of material elements. And because we cannot approach God right now, so therefore it's required, some medium is required. And that Srila Prabhupada has given that also. The example is a postal carrier. If we have a box, that we can't just put our envelope in any old box. It has to be an authorized thing. Only that which is recognized as authorized, the mail post carrier will come and collect and take it to its desired destination. And similarly, they're authorized forms of the Lord. Now, if we believe in a God, this is a logical thing. If we believe in God, And he's all powerful and he can do anything. He's created a human body. He's created a lion body. Why can't he make a half lion, a half man body? Simple. He can do that if he wants. And then create pastimes according in that body. It's a logical thing. Lord can do it. To the gentleman, he was saying, yeah, some things I agree and some things I don't. I said, okay, you can expound if you like. He said that it's not required to worship deities because only there's one eternal God and our existence is contingent on that eternal, he said. It doesn't mean dependence. Contingent on one thing means to be dependent on another thing. So he brought that up. I said, okay, please tell me this, sir. I said, outside of the general information you know about God that's found in the Bible and the Quran, so forth, that he's almighty, he's eternal, we're contingent on him. Outside of these things, what can you tell me about God? If he shows up right now in front of you, how will you recognize him? He said, I won't. I said, okay. So Srila Prabhupada gave this discussion a while back, and with a group of theologians. And he said, right now, you don't have a clear conception of God. Is that correct? And they just remained silent. He said, we do. We're saying, you don't know God personally. Here's God. Why don't you accept it? So I remembered that when talking to this gentleman. So I formed it in the same way and offered it to him. I said, now, no one's here to force you. I'm saying, but right now you admit it. You can recognize God if he came walking by you right now. But our Bhagavad Gita and our Srimad Bhagavatam has clear information about God. His names, his residence, what kind of relationships he has, how to connect with him, and how to go there. Their information, the other things don't. And he said, he agreed. The idea is that everyone's having some faith, and even within the Bible and some Quran, whatever, it's as His Holiness Indra Yumna Swami Maharaj, it's mostly a parables and very generic information. I can look at all of you and say you're a male, and perhaps guess your age and what kind of body you're coming from, India, like that. No, everyone could say that, but what can we see? What's the intimate detail? And that only comes through having love for that person. Then we can start to get very detailed information, and it just spills out. So here's the topic of dependence and faith, and it comes through surrender, and not as a high-speed chase surrender like Maharaja said, but sweet surrender. What it means is we realize practically our dependence on God. And as such, one then sweetly surrenders to God. And here are just a few things about surrender. It's a relatively modern word. Surrendere, the 15th century, a giving up of an estate, land grant, or interest in property. Krishna very particularly uses the word kshetra, right? A field. So what is field? It's a property, right? Therefore, the surrender is a giving up of our interest in the material energy. And then one becomes kshetra jna. He becomes the knower of the field and understands his position in relationship to the divine. So one surrenders, and then according to that surrender, 4:11, Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, as they are surrendering unto me, I then reward them accordingly. Examine briefly Srila Prabhupada's life, how surrendered he was. Didn't matter what happened. He kept his Guru Maharaj's instructions in his heart always. And his service to Maharaj and Krishna only intensified over time. We're reading in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita how many adversities he's going through, yet not one of them adversely affected him. It simply Drita Vrataha. He simply became more determined as reversals came his way. Last time it was briefly mentioned, he used to walk 7 blocks at one point just to go cook for everyone else. We have to walk hardly maybe 7, 15 steps or so. And it's there, nice 4 burners, overhead light, surface light, heat, so much. So much is there. So this is now starting. We'll eventually work our way in comfort. That if one is too comfortable, it's very easy to become lax. Lax means I just like it's a very nonchalant. But therefore, because most of the hard work, if we notice in the ISKCON movement, has already been done. All the erecting the buildings and everything that has to do with that belongs with that. You all probably know better. The idea is that it's not so easy just to acquire a piece of land and build, because everyone has this icha. They have this ownership. We were, Kautakana Prabhu and I were in Santa Cruz in that general area. And we went to go pick up from Mataji Sundari one item for the center. And she lives in the hills of Santa Cruz. Like you have to go up the mountain. It's far up there. And it's a narrow road, and mostly it's just driveway parking lot. They don't have side route space. And the truck, we're in the truck, it's not so easy to move that thing around. So I didn't want to go all the way down there to her driveway. So I parked it out along this one fence. I saw another vehicle there, so we'll hardly be here 5-10 minutes maybe. Within 15 minutes, we came back, there was a note on the door. I said, "This is private property, please don't park here again, thank you." Because everyone is thinking, this is my property. Krishna, in the Isha Upanishad, Sri Isha Upanishad, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yat Kinsha Jagatam Jagat Tena Tyak Tena Bhumshinta Magrida Kasyas Vidana. Within 15 minutes, that person was thinking, who is that person parking there? Who's that truck? That's mine. Doesn't matter how long, just stay away. This is how deep it's ingrained. And most people are thinking like this. This is mine. Aham, I am this body, and Mameti, this is mine. This is the struggle. Karshati. Now, as one realizes the opposite of that nothing is actually mine. This body, been put into it. I have to serve its term, and then I'll be booted out of it in due course of time. Then they sweetly surrender. They eventually sweetly surrender to Krishna. So just take me out of this miserable position. Now, Krishna states, to the intensity that one devotes himself or surrenders, then to that degree he also reciprocates. I reward them accordingly. This intensity word, Latin, intensis, or intendere, it means to stretch, to strain, to be high-strung, be very tight. It's like an instrument. The strings must be tight. They cannot be loose, otherwise you get a poor sound. But if it's properly tightened, then sweet sound will emanate so long the person can actually play. The idea is that surrender and then increase one's intensity. Now, here, to back up this topic of dependence through faith and close on it and go into comparison a little bit, this is mentioned in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 39. For anyone keeping record, 4.39, wherein Krishna states, a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Big notice. So many people are not peaceful, actually. It's the first step in God realization comes a gratitude, and the gratitude eventually leads to peace. Because now the mind is, I'm grateful means it's synonymous with a satisfied, tushti in the sense. I'm grateful and therefore satisfied, and therefore I can be somewhat peaceful from time to time. So we have the attitude of gratitude, it really helps. And that also helps with not becoming too comfortable. I come in, I'm really grateful. Oh, we have the association of His Grace Vijay Prabhu. Oh, Vishal Prabhu's cooking. I can't cook like that, but they do it. Oh, Deva Prasanna Prabhu's ability to optimize Katakana Prabhu for able to mobilize all the soldiers in a loving way and engage them in service. That we can counteract the discomfort. Now I'm not situated like, oh, okay, I belong here. No, I'm constantly grateful. One is constantly grateful. So I can be here and with the right mindset. And then recognize opportunities of service when they're there. Snatch them up. Here is a short purport, therefore I'll read it. 439. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. Yeah. He says without delay. Achirena, very soon, adigachati, he attains. So many people are wanting knowledge. Why even open schools and so forth, different institutions? Everyone's seeking it. The Krishna states that he's the object of knowledge. By all the Vedas, he's to be known. Now, that is leading into our comparison. Krishna's abhigyat, he's all-knowing, and we want to know more. He doesn't need to know more. He is knowledge personified. And this is the difference. They say there's the das anudas and then the boss anudas. Boss, people in general want to be the boss. But we're not built for it, or can't even handle it, actually, practically speaking. So these bosses are the most, sometimes the most stressed, right? You go into an entry position at Salesforce, it's like, oh, it's okay, I can deal with this. And then you get a promotion, you're thinking, oh, sales and pay increase, I get to manage a few others, a little bit more. But what does it come with? More responsibility. And especially if you're on this, what you call this, salary, then it doesn't matter what hours you work. It's like, call anytime. You guys call it pinging, right? Pinging. And have these meetings to discuss this relevant information. It's required to carry out the material duty, but how will it save one from impending death? Do nothing. The idea is that we're dependent, and Krishna's Vibhu, he's the greatest, and we're small and meant to follow. Therefore, understand this comparison. And in this regard, there's a beautiful song. There's a Jiva Jagam, right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he states there, in relation to Lord Gauranga, specifically the third verse, stanza, that other than myself, Lord Gauranga is saying, there's no one else here for you. I'm your only friend. Wake up to this realization. This is the difference. One cannot, as we go into this qualification, adhikari means authority and qualification. So in regards to this comparison and qualification, Srila Prabhupada often would give this example of the father and son. The son he's dependent on the father, and comparatively he's not the same. And so long he stays, he means the son, at the house and abides by the father's instructions, he's completely happy, he's safe. But what happens? Generally, one grows up in his body and thinks that I need to exercise my independence a little bit, maybe go away from whatever I've been taught. And therefore one leads into misery. The father says, my dear son, please come here, stay. You have everything you need here. Sleep, eat, good relationships based on love. But the son will insist, oh no, I must see what is out there. And then oftentimes it's not such a great situation. Now, this qualification, it's understood by Srila Prabhupada. He stated that actually none of us are qualified. That the general mass of people are unqualified. That it's known. Therefore, Lord Gauranga has come in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to prema dan, to give this gift of charity, prema, pure love of God. And that's what makes him Mahabhadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishna Prema Pradayate, complete. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauda Tvishe Namaha. To that person, I offer my obeisances. Now, to close out here, this one helpful attitude in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, that brings all this together. Our dependence, our comparison, and our qualification. Lord Brahma covers all in this one verse. Anyone know it by memory? You know? Shalprabhu Repository of Shastrika. And the English translation?
I would like to be exact.
Yeah.
My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances from his heart, word, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim.
So there we can see the dependence, addressing him as his Lord, the comparison, only you. And his qualification is what? Nothing really. Yeah, go ahead. Respectful obeisance.
Body and word.
Yeah. So, and Krishna states also that just manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mameva shisi satyamte pratijane priyosi me. You'll become dear. One will become dear if they simply invest their energy into Krishna. We broadly categorize it, but do it with your body, do it obeisances, etc. Priya. Then one will become dear. So, therefore, if we can understand these three things here, let us make a quick summary. That we're always dependent on the Lord. It's a co-independence. You can say that also. We have some independence, but it's not complete. It's partial. So co-independence, it's a sense of community. Comparatively, we're small and he's great. We're part of the Jiva Tattva, of which Brahma is also included. 78% of the Lord's potency and our qualification, our adhikar, is simply to realize our position in relationship to the Lord. To understand that we're coming from a not great previous life. Srila Prabhupada said generally the whole mass of people in this age is Shudra by nature. But one can overcome these things by Krishna consciousness, all these material adhikaris, and come to the level of Brahman, simply by implementing the principles of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, dependence, comparison, and qualification, and a little bit of the tattvas we covered. At this point, if you all want to share anything to expound on what we discussed, feel free. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes.
So what are points to snide that although these two verses had very little purpose, but you expounded so many things how a newcomer can understand this if he has faith. It is beyond our imagination. How a person can have 16,000 rupees twice and have 10 sons, and we can have 10 each. It's unimaginable that you said how one has to have the faith and one is self-dependent on Krishna. Then it becomes revealed. I was hearing in one of the classes that how much do we know even this body? We live in this body. We don't know how the digestion is working. We don't know how it's healing in the gut. We don't know how it is growing. We know so little about this body. How can we know about God unless we receive it? I also like the point of one should debate, regularly debate on scriptures in a right attitude that makes our intelligence strong. One should have association of elevated souls, and one should practice these three as a devotee association, shastra, and chanting, and of course, Siti worship. This is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Faith is essential. Faith is rational.
Beautiful, yeah. Yeah, thank you. So Maharaj said, it's echoing what he said, of course. Deep realizations. Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I want to expand the Prabhupada's letterbox analogy to the authorized letterboxes take the letter to the right place. Then some people say that if they have, at least a beginner, especially Indian body, if they have love for God, what's the reason to service? What's the reason to chant? I can just have that love for God within myself. So the way you could expand this analogy is to tell them that if you have love and you don't express it, you're not putting anything inside the letterbox, so nothing will go to the Lord. And then if when we go to chanting, if we chant but have no heart in that, or if it's not no emotion in that, you're just writing the letter to Vaikuntha, but there's nothing inside. It's an empty letter that you're putting in the letterbox. Yeah. Only when you chant and chant with love for the Lord, you are actually writing the address of the Lord on the letter and actually putting the letter inside, and demonstrating your love for Him, and then put it in the correct letterbox. Then it will go to the right.
Yeah, so nice. Yeah, thank you for that point. And it was in line with what Dynamic Deva Prasanna Prabhu mentioned last week about the glorification of Maharaj, right? What did you came back and said one point? Personal touch, right? And His Grace Vaisheshika Maharaj sent, well, in India, he sent the postcard, right? Some of it probably got, and he wrote on there. It said that Vaisheshika Maharaj, that when he gets mail, that he scans it real quick, and only that which he sees that has personal handwriting, immediately he'll open those. The other ones, when he has time, just do. This personal touch is everything, actually. When as Vishal Ji is saying, it becomes empty. It's like nothing. Gift, but where is it coming from? What kind of intention was there? Yeah. Thank you. There, very good point. Anyone else want to share? A couple minutes. Anyone is there online? No. Can't tell on this. Oh, Satvat Prabhu and Rahul Prabhu, thank you so much for joining. Feel free to share anything, no pressure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji in Vietnam.
Hare Krishna, Rahul Prabhu.
All glory to Prabhu.
All glories to Srila
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. All glories. Um, I had listened today to a lecture by Mahatma Prabhu on self-confidence. So I got a different perspective on that. Um, most materialists, they have books like You Can Win. The motivational speakers will motivate people to think that you can do anything, you can achieve everything, things like that. But for devotees, we have the correct understanding not to be in false ego, um, not be a Mura, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 327. Um, and also some other verses they quoted, like Krishna is the ability in man. So
Mm.
we should not independently falsely think that I can do anything. Only by
Mm.
Krishna's mercy can I do anything.
Mm. Mm.
That
Amen.
was like
Thank
dependence. So for me it's a very enlivening and enlightening to see those who are like yourselves. Everybody is more materially qualified than me, but you are depending on Krishna, so it behooves that I should also be sane and depend on Krishna. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much, Rahul Prabhu, for that insight. And to expound on it, it's a Kautakana Prabhu mentioned this point a while back about when he was on traveling Sankirtan, right? And the Lakshmi that they were collecting, they were also using that for their subsistence, right? And it made you feel really good, he said, right? There's a sense of that actually the Lord is supplying and he's already doing it, but it makes it more visible when we actually engage in these welfare activities and just see how the Lord reflects, reciprocates our efforts. Such an important point. Yeah. Depending. And the opposite side is Krishna says, if you don't, if you act with false ego, you'll become lost. Therefore, simply remember Krishna. Work for him. Everyone's working. Everyone's remembering something. Same activities, it's just a different direct it somewhere else. Direct it to Krishna through the medium of the spiritual master. Thank you, Rahul Prabhu. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice class. I like the point that you mentioned that basically, if one is too comfortable, then that may lead to some kind of complacency. But one way to counter that complacency is to have a mood of gratitude that, yeah, these devotees are doing so much for us. So that also propels us to do something more, like not be complacent. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. This is true. They have this also it's in sporting psychology. Maybe it's not an official field of study, but one must have this attitude of I'm not doing enough. I can always do more. But yet when that competition day comes, they must convince themselves I've done more than enough. I've outworked my opponent or the team and so forth. And then they have the ability to actually contribute something. So the idea is the same thing, is that one should always feel this I can do more and I should do more, and then act on that on a regular basis. And then, long story short, when we become recognized by superiors, it'll be reflected by offering of more service. And what one must then intensify their practice to offset those things. Otherwise, just service comes, it becomes overwhelming. So one must give up more, give more, surrender more. Thank you for that point. Krantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.